What if I told you that a completely normal night, filled with laughter, food, and simple family moments, could quietly turn into the last memory you ever have with someone you love? Just hours before his death, Cameron Boyce was exactly where anyone would expect a happy 20-year-old to be, spending time with his parents, smiling, talking, living. Nothing felt wrong, nothing felt unusual, and that's what makes this story so disturbing. The night before he passed away, Cameron shared a black and white portrait of himself on Instagram, a calm yet intense image that somehow reflected both the thoughtful and playful sides of his personality. At the time, it was just another post, something normal for someone who regularly connected with fans, shared behind-the-scenes moments, and spoke about real-world issues. But looking back now, that image feels different, almost like a silent goodbye no one understood. Cameron wasn't just another young celebrity chasing fame. He was someone who genuinely cared about using his platform for something bigger than himself. Whether it was talking about social causes or simply making people smile through his work, he had built a connection with millions that went far beyond the screen. That same evening, July 5th, 2019, Cameron spent quality time with his parents, Victor and Libby Boyce. They went out for dinner together, just like any normal family would. There was laughter, there were conversations, there were moments that felt ordinary but would later become priceless. His father would later describe that night as his favorite memory, not because anything extraordinary happened, but because everything felt so perfectly normal. He talked about how happy he was just to see his son show up, driving his own car, living independently, growing into his own life, yet still coming back to spend time with family. It was one of those small moments that people often overlook, but later realize were everything. After dinner, Cameron went back to his own place, continuing what seemed like a completely normal routine. But even then, the connection with his parents didn't stop. They kept texting each other late into the night, casually going back and forth about everyday things, including basketball, specifically the Lakers. There was nothing emotional about those messages, nothing that suggested anything was about to happen, just a normal conversation between a father and his son. Their last exchange ended around 12:30 a.m., and somewhere between that final message and the next morning, everything changed forever. His parents had no reason to worry. Like anyone would, they assumed he had simply gone to sleep. But in the early hours of July 6th, Cameron suffered a seizure in his sleep. It was caused by epilepsy, a condition he had been quietly dealing with, something that most people around the world didn't even know about. And that's the terrifying part. Epilepsy doesn't always look dangerous. It doesn't always show itself in obvious ways. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it waits. Later that day, Cameron's roommates went to check on him before leaving the house. And what they found was something no one is ever prepared for. He was unresponsive. They immediately called emergency services and began CPR, doing everything they could to bring him back. They kept trying until paramedics arrived, holding on to hope that somehow something could be done. But it was already too late. At just 20 years old, Cameron Boyce was pronounced dead. The news spread quickly, and within hours, the world was in shock. How does someone so young, so full of life, so full of energy, just disappear overnight? There was no accident, no overdose, no warning signs that the public could see, just silence. Later, his family confirmed that he had passed away in his sleep due to a seizure, which was the result of an ongoing medical condition. It was something he had been receiving treatment for, something they believed was being managed. Reports revealed that he had been taking medication, including levetiracetam, and had undergone various tests to understand his condition better. At one point, doctors even used specialized equipment to monitor his brain activity, trying to capture any unusual patterns. But nothing ever clearly showed how serious the risk truly was. His seizures occurred only while he was asleep, which made it even more dangerous because there were no clear warning signs during the day. Even more unsettling, Cameron often had no memory of his seizures after they happened. Imagine fighting something you can't fully see, can't fully feel, and can't fully remember. His mother later revealed that he had experienced around 5 seizures in total, and sometimes he would bite his lip or tongue during them. Looking back, she admitted something that hits hard. If she had known that a seizure could take his life, she would never have let him out of her sight. But that's the cruel reality of life. We don't always know. We don't always see the full picture. And Cameron didn't live like someone who was afraid. He lived like someone who understood that life was bigger than fear. Beyond acting, beyond fame, he was deeply committed to making a difference. He spoke about issues that mattered. He supported causes like clean water access, ending gun violence, and using influence for something meaningful. He once said that what you leave behind should be bigger than yourself. And for someone so young, that mindset says everything about who he was as a person. That's why his death didn't just feel like losing an actor. It felt like losing someone real, someone genuine, someone who actually cared. After his passing, his parents chose not to let his story end in silence. They created the Cameron Boyce Foundation, an organization dedicated to raising awareness about epilepsy and continuing the work he believed in. It became a way to turn pain into purpose, to make sure that his life, even though it was short, would continue to create impact. And that's what makes this story more than just a tragedy. It's a reminder that life is fragile in ways we don't always understand, that the people we see smiling, laughing, living their best lives might be fighting battles we can't see, that sometimes the last conversation you have with someone will feel completely normal and you won't even realize it's the last. Cameron Boyce's story forces you to think differently about time, about health, about the people around you, because at the end of the day, it's not always the loud dangers that take people away. It's the silent ones, the ones that don't announce themselves, the ones that wait in the background. And maybe the hardest part of all this is knowing that everything seemed fine until it wasn't, that there was no clear moment where things went wrong, just a normal night followed by a morning that changed everything. And that's why this story stays with you, not just because of who Cameron was, but because of what it teaches you: to pay attention, to appreciate the small moments, to understand that life doesn't always give warnings, and to never take a single ordinary moment for granted, because sometimes those ordinary moments become the ones you wish you could relive.